Vectors Part 3b. Scalar multiples of vectors. Now up next we're going to continue with some drawings of the different vectors. Before we draw on the square paper itself, let's take a look at the different vectors over here that we have. Vector A is 1 unit to the left, A to the right, and 2 units up. So this will be vector A to be 1, 2. Vector B over here is I'm moving 2 units to the right and 2 units down, so that will be negative 2. And vector C will be 1 unit to the right and 0. So now what do we do with all these vectors? If we're going to do a drawing of A plus 2B, so vector A, so maybe let's start somewhere over here. Vector A will be 1, 2. So starting over here, I'll have 1 to 2. This is vector A. Now I'm going to add 2B. B is originally 2, 2. So 2B will now become 4, negative 4. So from here, this point, I'm going to continue by shifting 4 units. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then going downwards by 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will be this portion over here. Then I'll join it up. This is now 2B. And I have the starting point and the ending point. And I'll draw my line. Vector A plus 2B. Next, we're going to do 2A minus half B. What is 2A? 2A is 1, 2. So 2A will now be 2, 4. Half of B. B is 2, negative 2. So half of B, negative half of B will means I'll go in the opposite direction. Instead of 2, it will now become negative 1. Negative 2 will now become positive 1. So now let's start drawing this. I'll start with A to be 2, 4. So maybe I'll start somewhere over here. A to be, this is the starting point. A to be 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I end up here. So this will be vector A, 2A. And now I want a vector B, negative half B, that is 1 unit to the left and 1 unit up. So this one over here, this is negative half of B. And I start at this point and over here, and I'll join it to. So this vector will now be 2A minus half B. Last but not least, negative 2 of C will give me negative 2 and 0. So how do I draw negative 2C? I'll start from here. I'll move negative 2 units and 0. So this will be the vector negative 2C. Have you gotten the answer? Now enough of drawing. Let's go on to the next part to solve some equations involving vectors. Now I'm given the following vector A, B, and C. Calculate the values of x and y if they give you that 3 times of the vector A x equals to B plus C. So x minus 3 plus C. What will we get? 3 times of the vector A will give you 3 times of 1 unit, 3 times 2, 6 unit on the y-axis. And I'll combine these two together. I'll have the x with the x number, so it's x plus 5. Y with the y number, that will be y minus 3. Now, taking a look at all the x terms. So x with x, that will give me 3 equals to x plus 5. And therefore, x will be equals to 3 minus 5, negative 2. Let us now look at the y values. Okay, I will have 6 equals to y minus 3. So y equals to 6 plus 3. Y equals to 9. Exercise number 8. OAC to B is a parallelogram. Now, the moment we have a parallelogram, there's many things that we need to consider. We need to know that O to A is parallel to B to C. Not only that, O to A is equal vectors with B to C. Then what are the other two pair of very real sides? I will have AC to be equals to OB over here. Now they tell me that M is the midpoint of AC and is a point of OB such that ON is 1 unit and B is 3 units. So that is a total of 4 units. Now OA is the vector A on roller skates and OB is the vector 4B on roller skates. Explain as simply as possible in terms of the vector A or the vector B. Find the vector B to M. Now B to M, I need to start traveling from the point B. From B, where can I go? I know that this is a parallelogram, right? So if the vector over here OA is A, that means B to C is also the vector A. This is an equal vector. So I'll have B to C. And now I need to travel from point C and I need to find C to M. What information do I have? Do I have any information on C to M? Now I notice C to M is this side and I know this vector over here is 4B. And that means if I have B to O, it will be traveling in the opposite direction. This will give me negative 4B. But now they tell me that this is divided into 2 equal halves. So instead of having negative 4B, I will have half of it. So this portion here will be negative 2B. So I know this information, I can travel to this location, C to M. Now that gives me B to C is the vector A, and C to M is in the opposite direction of O to B. So it will be negative. And O to B is 4B. So now half of it will be 2B. That's for part A. Now let me clear up my screen. Okay. Part B, I have NB. I'm going to start with N to travel to B. How can I travel from N to B? Now N to B is this portion over here. It's only 3 units out of a total of 4 units of B. So if this is 4 units, then B will be 3/4, 3 out of 4 units of the vector OB, 3 out of 4 of the vector 4B. So therefore, NB will be 3 units of B. If you are able to see the answer directly, you can skip the working and come to the answer directly. Next part, find N to M. What have I already found in the previous part of my answers? I have N to B and B to M. So in this case, I can use the answer. N to M will be, I start from N, I travel to B, plus I travel from B and end up at N. So N to B will be the vector 3B, given in part B. And B to M will be the vector A minus 2B, found in part A. Now let us simplify these vectors. We'll get the answer to be 3B minus 2B, that will be B plus A. Have you gotten the answer? Up next, exercise 9. In triangle ABO, N is the midpoint of the line AB. So it cuts this into 2 equal halves. It tells me that CD is parallel to AB. If this is the case, we know that we have a pair of similar triangles. OCD will be similar to the triangle OAB. Now that's just a side note. And next, I know that the different points OA is now the vector 3A, where O to B is the vector, 6B. O to C is now given to be 2A. Find in terms of A and or B the vector for AB. How do I find this vector? I want to start from A and end up at B. Where can I go? A is related to, which vectors do I have? A is related to the vector, the point O. And from O, I can travel to B. So I start at A and at B. Now AO and OA are going in the opposite direction. So they are negative vectors of each other. So that means A to O will be negative 3A. And O to B is given to be 6B. This is the answer for part A. Part B. Now, what do they want us to find? A to M. Now, we know that A to M, M is now the midpoint. So, if A to B is given to be negative 3A plus 6B, A to M will be half of AB. And that gives me half of the vector negative 3A plus 6B. Negative 1.5A plus 3B. Next, how do I find OM? Part C. O to M. Now, I only know the one down here that's related to M, is A. So that means I need to start from O. In this case, M is related to A. That means I need to find A. And A is related to O. So in this case, OM will be, starting from O, I can go to point A. And then from point A, I'll go to M. So O to A is given to be 3A. A to M, I found the answer just now. So I'm going to use it. Negative 1.5A plus 3B. And simplifying it, I'll get 3A minus 1.5A, a positive 1.5A, and positive 3B. Please remember to put the roller skates for all the different vectors. If not, you'll become algebra and everything will be considered as wrong. Next one, part D. I'm going to find CD. Oh, how am I going to find CD? I know that triangle OCD is similar to triangle OAB. If the ratio of OC to OA, OC is given to be 2A and OA to be 3A, that means the ratio will be 2:3. How can I find C to D? I will need the vector OD. Why is that so? Part D, C to D is made up of C, I can travel to the point O is related. Then from O, I need to travel to the point D. So now my objective is to find OD. Now we know that CO and OC are opposite in direction. So this will be negative 2A. But what is OD now? I know that the ratio should be 2:3. So that means OD and OB will also be 2:3. So if this 3 units is 6B, 3 units is 6B, what will be 2 units? 2 divided by 3 times 6. That gives me 4B. So OD here will be 4B. So now I'm going to add OD. It will be the vector 4B. And this will be the answer. Let's look at the point OD. Vector OD is already given. OD, we found OD to be 4B. Last but not least, let us find N to D. Now this is a pair of similar triangles. If I have that M down here is the midpoint, that means M to B is half of AB. If that's the case, N to D will also be half of CD. So I have established the fact that N to D is now half of CD because of similar triangles. So half of CD will give you half. C to D is negative 2A plus 4B. And that will give you negative A plus 2B. Have you gotten the answers? Last question for the day. In the diagram, BC is given to be the vector Q and A to P is the vector R. So I have this small portion over here. Now they tell me that BD is 2 times of BC. So if BD is 2 times, then the vector B to D will be 2 times of the vector Q. And they tell me that AC is equals to 2 times of AM. So AM is 1 unit, AC will be 2 units. And now they tell me that AB is equals to 3 times of AP. So 3 units of A to P is the vector R. Express simply as possible the vector for C to A. I have no direct information to travel from C to A. How can I go about the other points? C is connected to the point B. I can have C to B over here going in this direction. So I noticed that C to B is going in the opposite direction. If it's going in opposite direction, that means C to B will be negative Q. And now from B, I'm going to continue my journey to A. So B can go to A. B to A is going in the opposite direction, going upwards now. So in that case, B to A will be the opposite of AB, which means it's going to be negative of 3R. Now part 2. Find C to M. C to M, we notice that M is in the midpoint. So C to M will now be half of C going to A. So if that's the case, I will use my previous answer. C to M going in the upwards direction, half of C to A. So negative Q minus 3R, and that gives me negative half Q minus 3 over 2R. I will prefer fractions in this case rather than decimals. Then part 3, I need to find DM. Where is D? D is down here. How can I travel from D to M? But well, I know D can travel to many different points. D can travel to C. Why is that so? Because I found in part 2, C to M. So now if I travel from D to C, and I continue from C to travel to M, I will be able to get the vector dm. Let's take a look at what is DC. D to C is in the opposite direction of BD, so it will be a negative. Now C is in the midpoint, so D to C will be now just negative Q. Next, C to M has been found earlier. C to M was negative half Q minus 3 over 2R. Simplifying this, I will get negative Q minus half Q. That will give me negative 3 over 2Q. Negative 3 over 2R. This is negative 1. This is negative 0.5. So it's a total of negative 1.5, which is negative 3 over 2Q. Next part, IV, let us find MP. How can I travel from M to P? I know that M is in the midpoint. C to M is the same as M to A. So what I can try now is I'm going to travel from M to the point A. After which, I know that A can travel to the point P. Then I'll end up with M to P. Now M to A is going in the same direction as CM, and since M is the midpoint, M to A is equals to CM. So I'm going to use the answer I found in part 2, negative half Q minus 3 over 2R. And I know that AP is in the vector R. So I'm going to add vector R for AP. Let's simplify this. I'll get a negative half Q. Now this is negative 1.5 units plus 1 unit. So I'm left with a negative half of R. So these are some of the information that I have. Now we'll continue to use this information to find out the answer for part B. Exercise 10B. Write down 2 facts about the vectors DM and MP. Now what do we need to do down here? I have this observation. DM is negative 3 over 2 units of Q minus 3 over 2 units of R. What do you notice about the vectors Q and R? They have the same scalar multiple over here. So what I can do, I can write this as 3 over 2 bracket negative Q negative R. Let's take a look at MP. What do we notice? I also have a scalar multiple of vector Q, a scalar multiple of vector R, and both of them are half. So I can write this as, factorize out the common factor half to be negative Q minus R. What facts can we write about these 2 vectors? Now what we can do, we can find a ratio. So the vector DM over the vector MP is now given to be 3 over 2 times of negative vector Q minus vector R over half of negative vector Q minus vector R. What do you notice? What can we cancel away? Well, yes, the vectors over here can be cancelled away and we are left with a scalar multiple. What is 3 over 2 divided by half? So 3 over 2 divided by half will give you the number 3. This means to tell you the first fact, dm is now 3 times of mp. Fact number 1, dm is parallel to mp such that the magnitude of dm or the length of dm is 3 times that of the length of mp. Fact number 2, let us observe I have d to m, m to p. M is a common point. So M is a common point. If M is a common point, that means D to M, M to P must come together to form one straight line. So therefore, these 3 points, D, M, and P, are collinear. So now we have 2 facts about the vectors. Have you gotten your answer?